Hello, everybody. Ted Glover here with Vikings Report Rewind. As always, my brothers from another mother, Christopher Gates, off to my, I never get that right, off to my right, whatever it is. Founder, lead blogger, numero uno honcho over at the Vikings SB Nation website, the Daily Norseman. And as always, right below, my co-host with Vikings Report, Drew and Ted. Drew bunning it in the background. Ruby Toons is the talking cat, making it all happen. Vikings are off the schneid, go 1-3 with a 21-13 win over the Carolina Panthers. We are back, baby. Super Bowl homeboy. Let's go. Chris, what do you think? We back in it or not?
We are not. I mean, you don't expect a game between two 0-3 teams to be a work of art or anything like that, and they certainly delivered not a work of art this afternoon. We had more touchdowns by defenses than we had by offenses. We had what might have been the worst pass that Kirk Cousins has thrown as a Viking, and it was winning ugly beats the hell out of losing ugly. So we'll take it.
Yeah, Drew. It felt like we were watching a game between 0-3 teams, at least to me. How about you?
It did. There was no urgency on either side. They were like punting back and forth to each other, but finally we get a win. We get the pimp hat. We get a win. Let me. I don't know. It took 3 games and 3 quarters to see what this team can do, but we finally looked at something that hopefully. Let me point this out. I don't know if you guys noticed this. About 4 minutes left in the third quarter, Adam Thielen caught a pass, and he started doing this big circus around the field, pointing up in the air. He did like a lap, pointing up in the stand. It was kind of a dig at the Vikings. He was. Mm-hmm. He didn't just point up at the stands and walk back to the huddle. He ran like it was some kind of, like giving it to us a little bit.
Yeah.
Ever since that moment of that snap, they went Amber Heard. I'm telling you, I don't know if anybody out there in the comments below remember the play where Thielen was pointing to the crowd and like running, like gloating. He's like gloating, Ted. It all went to hell after that. Vikings kicked their ass from that moment on. Karma gets you. We win, Ted.
Yep. It didn't feel. Go ahead, Chris.
The Amber Heard reference works, given that you were wearing Johnny Depp's hat there for a minute. That was nice.
I should wear it more.
So you have heard of me.
Yeah, God.
So, it didn't seem like it was going to be a 1-3 team when this game started. The Vikings offense started out really good. By the way, before I go any further, before we talk about the rest of the game, come join us. Thanks for joining us. We got people in the chat room now. It'll be growing here in a little bit. But if we're going to give away a prize, maybe a couple, definitely we're going to give away a prize at the end of the show. Just make a comment, and Ruby's going to enter your name in the Wheel of Destiny. We will spin at the end of the show. If you say something that's like super funny that Chris or Drew or I think is really funny, we just might award a prize on the spot because that's how we roll. You can check out the prizes over at VikingsReport.com. Got the prize vault there. Anyways, it kind of felt like the Vikings were going to be the same old Vikings, and for a good vast part of the game they were. They started off really nice drive on offense to open up the game, and then Kirk throws what I think might have been his worst pass as a Viking. It was just an absolutely terrible throw. He telegraphed it. It was jumped, and it was a pick six for Carolina. They went 99 yards on a pick six, and it just felt, man, here we go again.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even sure where Cousins was looking to that ball. I mean, I think he was trying to throw it to KJ Osborne. I think it was the closest Viking anywhere near the ball on that play. But yeah, I have no idea where the hell Kirk Cousins was trying to go with that football. That throw wasn't there, and he tried to force it, and it didn't work, and you got the worst possible results. So yeah, that's probably Kirk Cousins' worst pass as a Minnesota Viking, I think.
Drew, has he thrown a worse pass?
Don't get me started on that. No, I don't think so. I think you know what? I think it's one of those plays where sometimes when you're playing sports, right when you do something, the second you do it, it's wrong. That's what it felt like. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. And I just think, but quarterbacks have a lot of pressure in this league. You're not allowed even, it's like a goalie in the NHL. You can't give up a netter. You can't. So I think he knew it. It was bad, but at the time I was thinking, what the hell is the curse on this team? What is going on here?
Yeah.
And then to make it worse, I mean, to Cousins' credit, he hustled his ass off to get down the field, and he got rewarded by getting absolutely freaking crushed on the tackle attempt. But he didn't get hurt. That's a positive, I guess.
No,
So
Nelson Williams is quoting me on Twitter, and I said this today. Kirk Cousins was ass for the most part. He did not have a good game. He made a few good throws, but he throws that pick six, and then it's like he got scared to make a mistake, and I thought he was going by getting into that mode that he gets the skittish safety valve check down Kirk. I thought he was going to make another mistake that was going to cost the Vikings the game, and he almost did with that pick. Ed Ingram was terrible. Dalton Risner didn't play. They signed him. Ed Ingram gave up a couple of big sacks, but it just felt like the Vikings were just out of sync for a good part of the day.
Yeah, Cousins was late on a lot of passes. Late.
He was, yeah.
And they were getting batted away and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, Cousins only had 139 yards passing today. I'm not sure if that's his lowest output as a Viking. I'm sure it's got to be relatively close to the fewest yards he had since he came here. All of our non-Justin Jefferson wide receivers combined for one catch today, and I believe that came in the first quarter.
Nice.
How come they don't use Addison more, Chris? Why don't they?
They tried to get it to him deep, and he did draw a huge pass interference penalty.
One target?
How many targets did Addison? That was his only target of the day. Was the big pass interference penalty to get them down into the goal to go situation.
On Addison, they only got him one target, but when he was out there, he whiffed on the screen pass. The Minnesota Vikings are intent to run 17 times a game, and he about got Justin Jefferson killed. So that could be why he didn't get any more targets. I don't know.
What about that running game for 2 straight weeks? 130 last week. I don't know what they got this week, Chris. What they get?
Let's see. Madison 17 for 95 and Akers 5 for 40. So
look at that, Ted.
Do a little public math here. That's 135 yards.
And last week we had 130.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple people have mentioned that the Addison or that the running game looked better. I'll tell you, if you had given Cam Akers 17 carries, he probably would have had 125, 130. Alexander Madison.
Akers averaged 8 yards a carry today on the 5 carries he got. He averaged 8 yards.
Nice start.
It was, yeah. Alexander Madison, I think, Drew, I said this during the game. We were chatting a little bit. Alexander Madison, I think I even put this out on Twitter. Alexander Madison reminds me of Michael Bennett back in the day. Michael Bennett, when Michael Bennett would get the ball, he would run 100 miles an hour into the line. And he would either run into Matt Burke's butt and lose 2 yards, or if he got to the second level, he was gone. The difference between Madison and Bennett is that if Madison gets to the second level, he gets 12 yards, and then he gets tackled. I mean, he just doesn't have that breakaway speed. If you'd have given Akers, and Akers just looks like a lot more fluid, patient runner than Madison does. Am I wrong on that, or am I just wishfully thinking here?
No, I think that sounds right. I mean, Akers looked like he was more willing to wait for his blocks to set up and stuff like that. And like you said, Madison's just like 100 miles an hour all the time, whether the hole is there or not. He's gonna go where the play is designed to go, and by God, if you're in his way, he's gonna run right into you.
Todd Taylor, great comment by Todd Taylor. He has better instincts than. That's a great comment.
Several people talking about like what Akers did today. Anthony Tollison, Jason Feinhage says Akers seems more aggressive than Todd's comment. Akers has better vision and instincts than Madison. Yeah.
You mentioned Michael Bennett. I saw him start a game against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. He ran 85 yards on the opening drive for a touchdown.
Yeah, that's the one play of Bennett's I remember, and he was gone.
And he finished the game with 82. That's Michael Bennett.
Yep.
So, Drew, do you remember I think it was our first season we were doing this show. And maybe it was into his second season, off season, whatever it was. And we kind of had this running gag about Brett Jones being a Sasquatch. Because we talked about him, and Ruby did a great Photoshop. It had the old Sasquatch with the Brett Jones jersey. I'm kind of thinking Dalton Risner is our new Sasquatch. He's signed. Everybody talks about Dalton Risner just like everybody talks about Bigfoot, Chris. And there's no Dalton Risner sightings at all, even after it's proven Ed Ingram stinks today. I don't know.
No, after Ingram gave up the like right at the end of the first half, the one where Cousins got hit and the ball floated about a mile in the air and wound up in the hands of one of the Panthers. Ingram absolutely needed to be on the bench at that point, and he wasn't. And if Risner doesn't start next week when the Vikings play Kansas City, you're gonna have to start wondering what the heck the point of even signing him was.
Yeah,
true.
Another guy I wanted to talk about, and Jason Feenhog talks about him. How about that Davenport sighting today? I was probably more excited about that than anything. Marcus Davenport got off the Davenport and made some plays today.
Wow.
And it didn't sound good because he was active, which kind of surprised me. And then when the Vikings defense first came out on the field, he didn't start. And I thought, it's going to be one of those. I made a snarky tweet. What's the over-under on amount of plays? I'm going to go 9.5. And then he had a heck of a game. Good on him. Good. I'm not deleting any of my tweets about Davenport previous.
I was going to say,
Derek Campbell.
I was going to say,
Derek Campbell, I'm done with this team.
I don't know what you're talking about. We have never talked about Marcus Davenport in anything other than the most glowing of terms. I mean, what a hell of a signing by Kwesi and company.
You look like Carl Eller today. I mean,
one thing you said about Davenport in the offseason, he's a really good player when he's healthy, and that has kind of been carried over since he got to Minnesota. And he showed it today. And like I said, I'm not going to retract any of my previous tweets because I did fairly good jokes, I think. But he, to his credit, had a great game today, Drewster.
Oh, he did have a great game, and it's good to see because the whole gloom of the Vikings, part of it was him not playing.
Yeah. Yes, it was very much.
And he just wasn't out there standing around. He was in on some big quarterback sacks. And while we're talking Davenport, we have to talk about Wanham, Ted. Do you want him? What a game. What a game by DJ Wanham. But Davenport, certainly, if we get that every week, I mean, the defense in the fourth quarter I looked at Ruby and I said, who are these? These guys are smothering them.
Yeah.
They're getting a bunch of sacks. It's really cool.
Real quick, I got to give away our first prize. I just saw this. I had to scroll back to it. Corey Doolittle. Cousins was ass, but Ingram was toxic Taco Bell ass. Corey Doolittle, my God, get a hold of Ruby at Vikings Report Drew and Ted at gmail.com. That's prize-worthy. Derek Campbell, was it Derek Campbell that said, I'm done with this team, I'm out? Yeah. Campbell, get a hold of Ruby. That's a prize, too, by God. That's
Campbell,
funnier than hell.
That made me start laughing because we know the inside joke on that.
Anyways.
Everybody gets up on the Vikings. It's a great win.
Just Chris, following up on what Drew said about DJ Wanham. Great game. I mean, he was causing pressure, and the defense overall, I thought, without question, had their best game of the year so far.
Oh, they absolutely did. I mean, Carolina didn't score in the second half.
No, not a bit.
Carolina didn't score a touchdown all day offensively.
No,
none.
They had no offensive touchdowns. They had 2 field goals, and one of them was from the Outer Banks of North Carolina, or wherever the hell Pinheiro kicked that one from.
Giving up for the defense.
But yeah, that was really good stuff. I mean, and Davenport, when the guy plays, when the guy gets on the field, he's pretty obviously a difference maker. I mean, he ran Young into a sack for DJ Wanham there on a third down and was in the backfield for a lot of the day. And it's nice to see Harrison Smith finding the fountain of youth again here too. I mean, that if that dude's not your week 4 defensive player of the week, there's issues and problems with the system because he absolutely should be.
Yeah. Several people have mentioned the game Harrison Smith had. I tweeted a couple times Harrison Smith is ageless, and he looked like he was in his absolute prime. He didn't look slow. He didn't look a step behind. I think maybe I'm just getting putting the cart before the horse here because it was a good win today. The Vikings finally won 21-13. But it felt like, or it could have been the opponent, it felt like the Vikings defense got to the point where they now understand the Flores defense. And they played faster and weren't thinking as much maybe because they got home a lot more today than they have in the previous 3 games combined, I believe. Drew.
Yes, they seem to be playing more intense. They seem to be more comfortable kind of playing just loose football, but getting to the ball carriers. There was some missed tackles, but all in all, I mean, Harrison Smith made every tackle I think he came in on. I'd like the jump of the defense from the halfway through the third quarter on. They seem to be playing off each other and, I saw them chirping at the offensive lineman. Somebody, the Vikings D-line was talking smack to the O-line, like nodding their head going, bring it. So that's stuff you like to see when they're starting to turn the corner. But we also had some new guys in there. To Davenport, I saw Andre Carter in there.
Yeah.
The infusion of the new guys, let's go. But I was completely thrilled with the defense today. In the modern day of football, if you don't give up a touchdown, that's a good game. That's a game you can hang your hat on.
Yeah, it was, Chris. I thought, Smith stood out, Wanham stood out, Davenport stood out. But overall, the Vikings defense as a whole, and specifically, I think it was late third quarter, early-ish fourth quarter, the Vikings defense got to stop. And I think, Chris, you and I both said on Twitter, hey, look, the Vikings have an opportunity here, at least eat a good chunk of clock, go down, at least get a field goal, and this game is essentially over because the Panthers were showing nothing. And the Vikes offense went 3 and out, and it was up to the defense again. And we saw what happened at the end of the game. They just said, no, not today. We're gonna end this game, and we're gonna get the win and go home.
And the defense killed it today, even though, I think every week Drew kind of looks at the time of possession statistic. Carolina had the ball for 38 minutes in this football game.
Wow.
38 minutes. They ran 68 offensive plays. The Vikings only ran 44. And the Vikings were 1 for 8 on third down. If your defense is playing solid enough where you can win a game where you convert 1 third down all afternoon, that's a pretty impressive performance. Great
point. And you know what? The time of possession thing, the reason I look at it so closely is in the previous 3 games, it runs your defense down. Your defense, why is the defense giving up yards in the fourth quarter? Because your ass offense is going 3 and out and they're having 16-play drives. You can't do that all day. They did it again today, and the defense stepped up the last half of the fourth quarter. But again, it's on the offense. At one point in this game, Chris Gates, the defense, when Wanham scored, they had a better offense than the offense, and they had a better they were doing everything to keep us in the game. At one point, they did all the scoring for us. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the offense just didn't have it today. I mean, you said Cousins had one of his worst outputs as far as yardage goes. I mean, he had the 2 interceptions. I know we can't completely blame Cousins for the interceptions, but they both happened. I mean, you can sure as hell blame him for the first one, but the second one wasn't really on him, I don't think. But I mean, the offense just didn't have it today, and they needed the defense to step up and play a big time game, and that's exactly what happened.
All right, we just hit 200 people in the chat room watching us. Thanks for joining us again. We got Chris, we got Drew, we got me. I'm Ted. Vikings Report Rewind. We're going to give away a prize at the end of the show. We've already given away a couple. If you say something funny that Drew or Chris or I think's prize worthy, we'll let you know. Give a prize. But we're also going to spin the Wheel of Destiny at the end. Just make a comment here in the live chat. We'll get your name written down. Ruby's going to spin the electronic Teachers Wheel of Destiny and give a prize at the end of the game. So, I want to talk about the first time the Minnesota Vikings played complimentary football all year today. Not the first quarter where the defense threw or where the offense threw a pick 6 and then the defense, then they went 3 and out, and then the defense let the Panthers go down and kick a field goal up 10-0. I want to talk about the third quarter. Wanham gets that scoop and score, 14-13. I think they held the Panthers to a 3 and out on the next possession. The Vikings got the ball. And it culminated with a Kirk Cousins to Justin Jefferson dart. Credit to Kirk, that was a hell of a throw. Caught Justin Jefferson caught it in the end zone, went up 21-13, proved to be the clincher. And I'll tell you, I like Justin Jefferson's touchdown celebration in that corner of the end zone where he just did the little, I don't know, put his hand on the ground. A lot more than Steve Smith did, almost in the exact same spot in 2005 when he did a little row the boat thing right after the Love Boat. You remember that? Remember that TD celebration? I remember. It's pretty funny.
It's because he beat Fred Smoot 87 times that day. Swear to God, it was. The 2/3 of the earth is covered by water, and the rest by Fred Smoot, unless he's covering Steve Smith. Jesus, you had to go and bring that. That's damn near 20 years ago, Ted.
It was.
That happened.
Isn't it great to hold on for the victory? We're all thinking 21-21 at the end. We're all thinking it.
everyone on social media is like, yeah,
Why,
this game's totally going overtime.
it took us so long to get the fourth quarter was the best quarter we played all season, and finally it all came together. But we didn't let up at the end, and it was complimentary, Ted. And they back on our studio show Friday, I mentioned that I'd rather face Bryce Young than Dalton. Now you see why. Yeah. Now you see why. That guy made a lot of mistakes. He misread a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage, and he looked like a rookie.
I think the alignments that Brian Flores had and the guys he brought and didn't bring, or the different looks he had, confused the hell out of Bryce Young all day. There were a couple times they shot to him looking at, kind of scanning the field, and he's thinking to himself, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I don't know what the hell to do. Whereas you're right, with Andy Dalton, he'd have been, okay, I've seen this before, like back in 2017. So we're gonna check out of this play and do this, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think Bryce Young's going to be a good quarterback. I saw some good things from him today. I don't know about you guys.
I think they need to let him get out of the pocket like he did at Alabama and make plays. Yeah. I don't think he did enough running with the leg and moving the chains with his legs. He was a lot more athletic at Alabama. They let him have a little bit more of a leash. You can't leave that guy in the pocket every play. So I think he'll get better too. But he learned today, and it helped the Vikings having his learning curve. Darren Campbell asked how I thought Akers did. I thought he did tremendous for his first game as a Viking, and he's going to help. He's going to help the running game, Darren. He's going to help that running game because last 2 weeks, 130, 135. We're on our way.
So 2 questions for both of you guys, and Chris, you'll answer first. Should Cam Akers start over Alexander Madison, and should Dalton Risner start over Ed Ingram? Go.
Dalton Risner should absolutely start over Ed Ingram. That's the easy one. I mean, as far as the running back situation is concerned, I like Alexander Madison a lot. I have since his rookie season, and I think he has what it takes to be the lead guy. But they need to have a more, I want to say, kind of equitable kind of split between the carries between these two guys. I mean, I know Madison was running well today, but I mean, he had 17 carries and Akers only got 5. Those two numbers need to be closer to the same, I think. I think Akers had Akers had 2 catches. Madison had 1. They didn't do a whole lot on any of those receptions. But, I don't know if the starting necessarily makes any difference, but I do think the number of carries that Madison and Akers get need to be closer to equal rather than kind of favoring one guy over the other.
I'm getting several yeses in the comments. Jared P says, why start Akers now? Maddie's been doing good lately. Drew, what do you think? Akers over Madison or not?
Here's the plan, and I think it's going to work. Madison had a great game today. You tell from the onset he was running violently and hard. He was running very violently, and he had a lot of really nice gains. I think he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder, but I think the Vikings might work Akers into being like a Madison Akers kind of thunder lightning type of thing.
Okay.
Kind of a change of pace back. It's a great receiver, a little bit more shifty than Madison. I think in conjunction when they work together, if they start calling the right play calls and have the right attack, those two backs, along with Chandler, I don't want to throw him out, but he never seems to get any carries. But I think Madison, Akers is a good complement to Madison. You could change your play style. You could, we actually ran good screens today. We ran some screen passes that worked, which was. I'm in agreement with Chris though. I think you got to divvy it up a little bit more to Akers, but that was his first game as a Viking. So I like the power running and having a shifty back. It's back like when we had Jerick McKinnon, that kind of thing. A little change of pace. Yeah. I think it's going to work out fine. Nicholas
Boatwright says Akers and Madison need to have a. I just lost a comment. They need to have. There we go. Thanks, Ruby. Akers and Madison need to have a formula like Cook and Madison. That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm happy with Akers, though. I'm happy with the run game the last 2 weeks. I am. I'm not happy with the first half scoring. Again, we can add to our list, Ted. Week 1, 10. Week 2, 7. Week 3, 10. Week 4, today, 7. Chris, that 34 points in the first half all year.
Yeah, and we just lost Chris, but I don't think they had I don't think the Vikings scored in the first quarter again, which would make it no scoring in the first quarter for the Vikings through 4 games this year.
You know,
I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
Toons has had, before we turn it over to Chris, Toons has had a good comment during the game, and it made a lot of sense because she makes a lot of sense. She's the sense side of the family. For these players on this team, Ted, we shouldn't have 10 and 7 points in the first half.
No,
they have the players, they don't have the plan. So,
No,
hey Chris,
absolutely not.
you got some stats up. What?
Yep.
We talked about Kirk's numbers today, not all that impressive. What stands out to you? I mean, we talked about the running game. They had a very good game. Is there anything that strikes you as something that the Vikings need to work on? We talked about no points in the first quarter, not a lot of scoring in the first half, or something that was good that stood out that has kind of been a reversal from the first 3 games prior to today.
I think it's something I kind of touched on earlier with the kind of the way the passes are distributed. I mean, Justin Jefferson is great. He's the best wide receiver on the planet by a significant distance and whatnot. But you look at the rest of and I know the Vikings only threw 19 passes today, which seems kind of weird until you remember they only had the ball for about 21 minutes. But you know, Jefferson got 9 targets today, and with all the other weapons and folks that the Vikings have on the offensive side of the ball, nobody else got more than 3. And
wow.
You know, like I said, we want the Vikings to feed Justin Jefferson because Justin Jefferson, as we just said, is amazing. But they need to try to do more
sure,
to take the heat off of Jefferson, and we've seen them do that quite a bit this year. But like you said, when you only run so many offensive plays, that those numbers are going to kind of drop. So yeah, I think that's one of the big ones. They need to try to do more to complement Justin Jefferson, but you know, still make sure that he gets his touches as well.
Yeah, Vikings Uncensored says, yeah, it should have been 7 if Oliver hadn't gotten called for the holding and then the boneheaded throw by Kirk for sure. You know, SN Mister, I'm not sure how I should pronounce that. SNMR says the offense is as good as the O-line. Fundamentals go back to Bud Grant. They do. No need to gripe about the offense without an O-line fix. You know, Darren Campbell mentioned earlier that Christian Darrisaw just pretty much throttled Brian Burns all day. Darrisaw was awesome today.
That was the best game the offensive line played all year.
I think so, other than Ingram with just a couple of boneheaded errors again. I don't know if Risner fixes that problem. I think the Vikings lose something in the run game if they put Risner in, but I think they'll help Kirk from getting the hell beat out of him if they put him in for pass protection. I don't know. I don't understand. You know, we talked about the interception at the end of the first half that Kirk got hit as he was throwing it, and it looked like Ingram missed a guy blitzing right up the middle. That would have been the perfect time to put Dalton Risner in. I think. I'm not sure what the thought process is there. If somebody sees a post game quote from Kevin O'Connell as to why he didn't play him, I'd like to hear it. But yeah, the Vikings still managed to pick up the win on the road. Something I wasn't sure they'd be capable of doing. A road win. It sounded like a home game. Looked like a lot of Vikings fans were in the stands there today, though. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah,
very.
I mean, it looked pretty ugly early on. I mean, obviously, you know, 99-yard pick sixes are never a positive development, but you know, they stepped up after that, and you know, like Drew said, the Panthers offense didn't score a touchdown all day, and that's a good thing to see in the NFL, no matter who you're playing against, whether they're 3-0 or 0-3 or whatever it is.
Drew, do you think the Vikings defense will keep the Chiefs without a offensive touchdown next week?
I need to put my pimp hat back on for that. I'm going to say no. And real quick we'll worry about the Chiefs next week. We get to enjoy this win for 24 hours.
Yeah, we do.
Let me tell you about the offensive line.
All right.
We don't have the best offensive line in the league, but you can certainly formulate your game planning to make it easier on your offensive line, and we haven't done that. We protected Kirk pretty well today. He didn't seem under fire as much. I know it's not a great offensive line, but let's not forget, Bill Belichick had 4 out of 5 offensive linemen from his practice squad one year, and he went to the Super Bowl and won it. He had some of them throughout the year, but when they started the playoffs, they had 4 practice squad guys. You can do it. You just have to bear down and have better play calling. And if you have good weapons like Addison and Jefferson and Hawkinson, you know, it's the play calling. It's still not where it needs to be, Ted. It's those lousy 3-and-outs. It's leaving your defense out there too long. The offense, I'm not happy with the offense still. I'm not. I'm really happy about the defense at this juncture after 4 weeks. Where's this offense? Where's the scoring? Where is it?
There were too many instances today, and we've seen it throughout the weeks. The defense will get off the field, and it was I can't remember, it was 7-0 or 10-0 at that point. The defense kind of made a stop, and the offense was struggling, and you thought, oh, okay, maybe they can get something going. And they start off with a screen pass that got nothing. Then it's 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 11, and instead of Akers in running the ball, it's Madison, and he gets nothing. And then 3rd down, Kirk throws an incomplete pass, and they're out. And that 3-and-out I was talking about earlier, where the Vikings had they eaten a bunch of clock and driven down the field, they could have closed the game out with at least a field goal. Chew up 5 or 6 minutes. The first play from scrimmage was a run for 9 yards. Okay, all right. Look, you got the whole playbook open to you. Then 2nd down, it might have been Sloatman. I think it might have been Ed Ingram that whiffed on a block, and Madison takes a 2-yard loss. It's still 3rd and short. It's still very advantageous for the offense.
I remember that drive clearly.
And do you remember the play the Vikings executed on that? It was 3rd down. They needed 4 yards, just a dump.
Horrible overthrow.
Yes, a dump off to Oliver or Hawkinson, who got me almost no fantasy points today. and they throw long down the sidelines on a catch that not even Justin Jefferson could bring down. I mean, what are you doing, man? Yeah, it just goes back to what you were talking about, Drew. And just what are you doing with the play call sometimes? I don't get it.
Well, as I turn this over to Chris to explain, I think he said there was 38 minutes of possession time for Carolina, which is almost unheard of to lose a game when you have 38 minutes of possession time. You got to understand, in football, if you start a drive at the 20, even if you get a couple first downs and have to punt, you're helping your defense.
Yes.
And you can't have 3-and-outs. Those are horrible. And the Vikings have too many of them. If you get a couple first downs and 3 first downs and something happens, you have to punt or whatever, that's still good because you're helping. The Vikings are playing with fire, leaving the other team out there for damn near 40 minutes. If they weren't playing a shit team today, they'd have lost.
Yeah, probably.
Chris,
before I turn it over to you, Chris, again, we got just over right at 200 people in the chat room. Just if you want to enter to win a prize, we're going to spin the wheel for a prize at the end of the show. You can check out the prize vault over at VikingsReport.com. Just make a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on today's game, or just say hi or whatever. You'll be entered to win. Chris, go ahead with the thoughts of the time of possession and the game today.
Drew's right. I mean, it's not often when you're damn near 2-1 time of possession. And as Brad Morin just pointed out in the comments, the Panthers won the turnover battle today too. The Vikings turned it over twice. The Panthers' only turnover came on the DJ Wanham scoop and score. So I mean, they won the time of possession almost 2-1. They won the turnover battle. They ran 20 more offensive plays than the Vikings did, and they lost. And it's rare. I mean, it happens occasionally. More often than not, it happens to the Vikings rather than against the Vikings, as we all know. But that's just the way things worked out today. But like Drew said, we saw it the last couple of weeks when they got killed in the time of possession. This sort of thing isn't sustainable. They can't do this every week and expect to win. So hopefully they'll get some of this corrected here at some point.
That sounds almost like something we'd see from ESPN Stats and Info. The Minnesota Vikings are the first team to have a 38-minute time of possession, win the turnover battle, and lose the game. That just sounds like a Viking stat,
it does.
Like you said. Hey, Chris, you said you got the stats up in front of you. How many times did the Vikings run the ball today?
Let's see here. Let me get the I believe, hold on here, 17 carries for Madison, 5 carries for Akers, and Cousins was credited with a carry on that play, I think, where they fumbled the snap down at the goal line. So that's 23. Well, yeah, 23 running plays, and Kirk only attempted 19 passes. So
wow.
Michigan had 51 rushes for 250. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Still, with 23 rushing attempts, it feels like the Vikings would have a better time of possession than they did. How many times did the Panthers run the ball?
Let's see, 14 carries for Hubbard, 13 carries for Miles. Miles Sanders had 13 carries for 19 yards.
He's
Yeah,
terrible.
damn near try to be that awful.
Wow.
Young was credited with 2 carries. Chanel had a carry, and Thielen had a carry. So some quick math is 31 carries for the Panthers. And Bryce Young attempted 32 passes.
You know what I said on that last drive? Carolina had the ball, guys. They were doing the Vikings. They started the drive running up the middle for a yard, chewing time off the clock, and I'm going. So they're running in the middle, which usually costs them today. They had some horrible play calls. I don't know who's play calling over there, but it worked into our. I told Ruby, she goes, "Why are they running it? I don't care. Let them run the clock out."
Yeah, that was really weird what they were doing. I mean, my only thought was that they were trying to run the clock down, score a touchdown, go for 2, try to win the game. Well, no, because they were down 21-13. If they'd gone for 2, that only would have tied it. I don't know.
I'm telling you, the Adam Thielen victory lap when he's pointing up. I'm telling you, it went Amber Heard after that.
All right. There was a play in the game, and it was second or third quarter. I want to say third quarter. The Panthers had the ball. Bryce Young throws the ball, completes a pass. I can't remember who caught it. But to me, it was a bang play. It looked like it was the pass was broken up and it should have been an incomplete pass, but it was called complete.
Mm-hmm.
The receiver fumbled the ball and then recovered it, and then they called it. And they had made enough to get the first down. And it was I believe it was on third down. Anyways,
right.
A lot of people, you guys remember the play. A lot of people were getting on Kevin O'Connell to not challenge that. Do you think he should have challenged that? I mean, in O'Connell's defense, the Panthers got right up to the line, ran a play before you could really review it to even make the challenge.
Right.
Do you think the O'Connell should have just thrown the flag and gone with it or not?
No, I think he did the right thing. I mean, looking at the replay, it's one of those ones where I don't think they would have necessarily had enough evidence to overturn anything. And then you're just wasting a timeout. You don't know if you're going to need those timeouts at the end of the game and whatnot. If it was a no doubt play, then you get up there and you throw the flag and do what you need to do. But I think that one was way too close to try to risk any sort of challenge or anything like that on. So I don't have any huge heartburn with Kevin O'Connell not challenging that play.
Drew?
I don't either. I was surprised he didn't challenge it, but in the long run, he would have lost the timeout and they would have got the ball right there anyway. Because I watched the replay a couple times. Looks like to me he took 2 steps and they weren't going to overturn that. So it ended up being the smart decision not to challenge it. But I didn't have a problem with it.
When they finally did show the replay, I'm like, no, if he had challenged it, I don't think it would have been overturned. But so yeah, whatever. But
then he would have got killed on Twitter for that. So
yeah, that's true.
You can't win. You can't win.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'm just pretty happy about the Vikings kind of figured it out today. I mean, 1-3 is not where we expected this team to be. But 1-3 is it's better than 0-4. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
That fourth quarter was the first quarter in the Bunting Manor household that we could enjoy. You notice when you execute well, you don't have turnovers, you don't have dumb, stupid penalties at bad times. Look what can happen.
Yeah.
That was the best quarter of football the Vikings have played. They were stuffing the run. They were defending the pass. They were mixing up their defense. Harrison Smith with the sack. They were sacking Bryce Young. They were pressuring Bryce Young. That is what we've been waiting for all season, and hopefully that sparks us to the next game when we whip Kansas City's ass.
Let's hope so. Chris, let me ask you this. Where do you see the Vikings going from here? And Drew, you answer this. I mean, it looked like they kind of figured it out mid-third quarter on, playing like the team we sort of expected them to play like from week 1. Is a reversal of fortune possible here? Can you see the Vikings? They got a couple tough games coming up. 2 of the next 3 games they've got Kansas City and San Francisco with a visit to Chicago too. How do you see these guys progressing from this point now? Is this something to build on, or are we just looking at fool's gold today?
I mean, I know Carolina's a bad team. I mean, going into the game, we were a bad team too. But I think this is the sort of thing that you can kind of build on a little bit. I mean, like we've already said, it's going to be a hell of a lot different next week when Patrick Mahomes and company come rolling into town with all of the Swifties in tow. But it's going to be it is something that you can potentially build off of. I think. I mean, I don't know if we obviously aren't going to get to 13 wins or anything like that, like they did last year. But you can salvage a season based on something like this, and hopefully we'll start to see that trending in the right direction here before too much longer.
Well, Drew, bloggers are going to hate. So shake it off and tell me if this is something the Vikings can build on or not.
You could totally build on this. I've seen it happen in my 53 years of watching football. I've seen teams spark off one game, and start playing differently. Infusion of new players, check. Pressure on the quarterback, intensity, error-free football in the fourth quarter. I wouldn't be surprised if in another 5 weeks, if NFL doesn't put up a stat, Vikings had 10 turnovers the first 4 weeks. They've had 1 since. Honestly, this can spark a team, and I've seen it happen, but you need to carry it into next game. What I'm still worried about is the offense, guys. I'm not sold on it. This defense showed me today. They showed me all season they could keep the game winnable. Today, Ted, the Flores defense came through from, like you said, the halfway through the point, the third quarter to the end of the game. That's what we've been waiting to see. The Vikings are going to have a good defense here, but you can't leave it all on them. You can't. You got to score 30, 35 points and make it a little easier on your defense. But this can totally spark a team.
I think it's kind of premature to call the Vikings defense good. I still think their front seven doesn't generate a push consistently. The second half today was the best they played, hands down. I mean, they were putting pressure on the quarterback, something we haven't seen all year. They got to Bryce Young a number of times, and I hope it is. I hope maybe the first 3 games were them just thinking and not reacting. We talk about this when you learn a new system, whether it's on offense or defense. You think players need time adjusting to that system, and before it becomes automatic on what they have to do, they think before they react, and that causes their reaction time to slow, and it causes them to be a step behind, which is why we thought the offense, second year in a row, first time in Kirk's career, would be lights out, because Kirk, everybody on offense coming back, they're not getting a new offensive coordinator for the first time in like 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, and they're the ones struggling to put drives together and make plays and what have you. So I don't know. We'll see.
The offensive struggles have made the defense better because they can't count on the offense. So they're having to rev it up like they did in this game. They said, screw the offense. We're going to win it ourselves. I'm telling you, if this offense can somehow get it together, you can't have 34 first half points in 4 games. The offense has been shooting themselves in the foot and killing themselves. The defense has been bailing us out like they did today. But if we get that offense clicking, Ted, this is a team that can run off a streak of games. They can.
Yeah, I think they can. And the big test will be next week at home against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Huge test. Yeah.
This is a great comment right here from Ryan B. To score any less than 28 with these weapons is total idiocy. KOC needs to adjust his planning and or start thinking outside the box. I agree. I think his play call has been very predictive at times this year. I saw several people saying it looked very Mike Zimmerish, and that's not a compliment. It's not with the offense. It's something, and which is kind of weird because last year the Vikings offense for the most part was pretty creative, especially in the red zone. I thought they had some just brilliant play calls in the end zone to get into the end zone. There were times that they sputtered on offense and they didn't get it going, but when they were clicking, man, that was a defense that was just flat downright scary. And I don't know that they've really been that, scary, intimidating good yet this year, Chris.
No, they really haven't. I mean, the offense, like you said, has the capability to put up points. I mean, they've got weapons at all the skill positions, and Cousins has shown in the past that he knows how to get the ball to those guys. But yeah, they need to rev it up because they're supposed to be the unit that's supposed to be carrying this team at this point. And for the most part, for the better part of this season, they haven't held up their end of the bargain. I mean, the defense is trying out there, but when you're going 3 and out and letting other teams do long sustained drives and getting killed in the time of possession, there's only so much the defense can do. The offense needs to step up on that significantly.
That is exactly right. Exactly right. Can't even add to it. Exactly right.
I'm yelling at somebody off screen. You're not yelling at me.
Chris Gates. Listen to Chris Gates, because all that is exactly right. That's what the Vikings got to do. The offensive play calling is still predictable, and if you're predictable in the NFL with the defensive coordinators and all the schemes that go on, if you're predictable, you're vulnerable. You are.
Yes.
You have to get more unpredictable and do some things like Michigan, 35-0. They go play action and throw it deep. There's no rules saying you can't do that. The Vikings are still holding back, Chris. They're still not letting it go offensively. And KOC, it's going to cost us games unless he figures out. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it, but Chris is right.
A couple people have mentioned the KC game next week and talking, the road ahead and all that. I will tell you this. If this Vikings defense we saw today can play like this next week, and the Vikings offense we saw last year can play like it did, and they are capable of. You have Kirk Cousins, who is a very good quarterback. You've got Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football. You've got T.J. Hawkinson, which is one of the top 5 tight ends. You've got Jordan Addison, who's a very exciting rookie. You've got a very much improved running game over the last 2 games with Alexander Madison, now Cam Akers. This team can compete with Kansas City, and they're going to be at home. They can beat Kansas City. A lot of things are going to have to go their way, but look, if this game is a jump-off point, next week Kansas City's going to have to be an exclamation point. And look, they can do it. Will they? We'll find out. I don't know. I don't know. But they've got the horses to run. They've got the horses to run with this team.
You're going to have to score more points. And I have seen Mahomes get sluggish as well. You can get him into a pit as well if you do have the right defense. Next week, the offense has to help the defense, Dad. They can't score 7 in the first half. They can't.
Yep. And look, KC still has Travis Kelce. They've now got the Taylor Swift army flying into Minneapolis probably. So, but the wide receivers Kansas City has are not as good as Patrick Mahomes has had in the past. Look, it's a tall order, but it's not impossible next week. Is all
not at all.
No,
did he really get a tattoo of that Swift girl on his arm?
No, I think that was a Photoshop. I'm pretty sure that was.
You know what? Can you have him call me since we're doing the Chiefs preview next week?
Have Travis
Kelce call me. Yeah, I got.
Let me write it down.
Write it down because
Travis Kelce called Drew.
I got 2 questions for him, and I won't say it on the air, but I got a couple questions for him.
All righty. So, anyways, we've got we're closing in on almost 50 minutes. I'll tell you what, Ruby, are you there? Are you ready to spin the wheel?
I am ready to spin the wheel.
All right. Look, go ahead and put the wheel up. We still got a couple. How many people we got? Oh, we're right at 200 people still in the chat room. So what Ruby's going to do? She's got the wheel of destiny up. She's going to spin it. The winner gets to pick a prize out of the Vikings Report prize vault. Go ahead, spin it, Rube.
Which we just added to, Ted.
Yes. Chris Papa.
Who's Chris Papa? Right. Chris Papa, announce yourself. I'm going to say it right now. Hit it, Papa!
All right, Chris Papa, congratulations. Get a hold of Ruby at VikingsReport, She'll give you a link to the prize vault to pick, and then we'll get that prize mailed out to you here in the next couple of days. All right, look, Vikings finally get off, are no longer one of the 4 winless teams left in the NFL. I understand the Bears ended up, after having a 28-7 lead, ended up losing to the Broncos. They now, as it stands right now, they have the first 2 picks in next year's draft because they've got Carolina's first-round pick, I believe.
Yep.
So the only 2 winless teams left in the NFL are the Bears and the Panthers. So the Vikings and the Vikings and the Broncos or whoever. I don't know. The Vikings win. That's all that matters. Vikes win. Final thoughts, Drew Bunting.
I'm glad we got away with a win there because a loss would completely feel like we were out of it. The Vikings still have a lot to work on, but that fourth quarter was the best quarter of football we played all season. We've been waiting for that. We played like that all season.
Yeah.
Probably a big different story when you talk about their record. I am excited. I'm looking forward to doing the preview with you, Ted, on the Kansas City game this week. And I'm just happy we got the win. I hope the fan base is happy that we got the win. And I don't know. It's football. I love football. Yeah. I do. I love football.
Watching your favorite team win is a lot better than watching your favorite team lose.
You know, and I told Toots this during the game, isn't it? I don't know if you with Ohio State. It's so much different watching my college team than my pro team.
Yeah.
It's a lot different. So you have, I'm glad we got the win. The Vikings are running the ball now. If they could get that offensive play calling figured out, I'm happy with the win, and I'm happy with that defense. Let's keep that defense going. Let's rock. Let's get on a roll here, baby.
Yep. Chris, final thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, winning's a hell of a lot better than losing. 1-3 is a hell of a lot better than 0-4. And, it's going to be an interesting week. Like we said, I'm not going to belabor the Taylor Swift point any more than it's already been done so far, because God knows that's the only thing we're going to hear about all freaking week from most of the really smart football people. So, I'm happy that we won. And, this, like Drew said, this is something you can definitely build on going forward. And hopefully the Vikings will be able to build on this and kind of put something together here after basically being left for dead after 3 weeks.
Folks, thanks for joining us. If you would, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Come back and join us. Like Drew said a couple minutes ago, we will be back with Vikings Report with Drew and Ted on Friday, previewing the Chiefs game. Drew, Chris, and I will be back next Sunday right after the Chiefs game to hopefully talk about a monumental upset and a 2-3 Minnesota Vikings club zooming their way to the top of the NFC North standings.
We'll find out.
For Drew, for Chris, for Ruby, who made all this possible. Thanks for Ruby. Can't thank you enough. I'm Ted.
Yeah.
We will see you Friday, baby. Skol Vikings.